Number 10. One Night at Springtrap's PowerPoint Edition. Oh my goodness, you know, after hearing Connor talk about these PowerPoint FNAF fan-made games, I had to try some for myself. And so, here we go. I played one called One Night at Springtrap's, and I gotta say, for a PowerPoint presentation made into a game, I was actually kind of impressed with what they did. However, for a game, I was pretty disappointed with what they did and found the game to be kind of annoying. I guess because it's a PowerPoint. I mean, there are limited choices you have in terms of what you can affect in the game. Also, I didn't really get to see much of Springtrap considering that's in the title of the game. Granted, I didn't play all the way through, so maybe there was just a lot of Springtrap the closer you got to the end and I just wasn't there yet. Anyways, for PowerPoint games, they can definitely be scary with how bad they are, but in a way they can also just be like legitimately scary because it's pretty impressive that these people can like make a game out of a PowerPoint presentation. PowerPoint FNAF fan games. I think every FNAF fan should play at least one of these at least one time. It's an experience, my friends. Number 9. UCN Plush Trap. So yeah, we've talked about Plush Trap before and I agree with Connor. Plush Trap might not be a direct version of William Afton, but he's basically like a mini Spring Bonnie, which is the suit that Springtrap wears, so I feel like we can count him. It's like a mini Springtrap. Honestly, I would love to learn just more lore about Plush Trap and their story as well. What if they also happen to be directly linked to Afton in some way? It could be kinda cool if one of the deceased Afton kids haunted that animatronic, you know what I mean? Plush Trap has a jump scare and ultimate custom night in addition to their jump scare from FNAF 4. In UCN, it feels like Plush Trap gets even more up in your face, and even if the jump scare isn't prefaced with a mini game set in a dark hallway, it's still pretty scary. Also, for those of you out there who think Plush Trap isn't really scary because he's cute, I gotta say, I disagree with you. When it comes to doll-sized things attacking me, Chucky gave me some early on PTSD when I was a kid, so I will always be afraid of doll-like creatures that can attack you. I was the person who used to say goodnight to all my dolls and all my plushies individually before I went to bed because I was terrified of what they might do to me when I went into my sleep. So it doesn't matter the size, they freak me out, Plush Trap included. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it where we talk about some of our favorite jump scare moments from the games, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Springtrap's Revenge. This one is from a fan game that while I wasn't able to actually get it to run on my computer, it does look really terrifying. I couldn't find the right program to open the file, but I do believe that it is openable and that it is playable. I'm just not sure what program you need to run that game. Aside from it being slightly scary that this game simply didn't seem to work, the audio files and the visuals shown on the Game Jolt page for FNAF Springtrap's Revenge seem to imply that for those who can get this game to run on their computer, or when I maybe figure out how to get it to run, there are lots of scary moments in store featuring one of the most creepy animatronics of all time. Springtrap. Number 7. Circus Baby Ice Cream Scoop. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Amanda, how is Circus Baby William Afton? What are you talking about? Well, yeah, okay, she isn't, but this was before she was merged with the soul of Elizabeth, and I would argue was kind of like an extension of William Afton, who had created her and for some reason had given her some other more questionable features, more murderous features. At least that's how the police seem to view it at the beginning of the game when they are heard interrogating Afton. When they're heard at the beginning of Sister Location, that is what I'm talking about game. Now, I'm not saying that Afton intentionally put Elizabeth in harm's way, but he was the one who likely programmed Circus Baby to be a killer and prey on children who were separated from the group for some reason, which in this case happened to be his daughter, which means in a way William Afton was responsible for Elizabeth's death, which means that the jump scare that happened that then resulted in her death was at least his fault, I think we gotta say. Even if it wasn't like him specifically behind it, even if it was a malfunction, he was still the one that created Circus Baby, and whether or not this had been an intentional thing. I imagine we'll never know actually what Afton's true motives were and if he wanted Circus Baby to attack Elizabeth or not, but Either way, I think he's involved. I think we gotta give the responsibility to William Afton, so I'm counting this jump scare as one of his. Number 6, Springtrap FNAF 2. No, Springtrap was not in FNAF 2. You didn't miss anything. You're not crazy, and yes, I do know that Springtrap was not in FNAF 2. However, with this fan-made mod, you can bring Springtrap into the game and have Toy Freddy replaced with Afton's Springtrap animatronic instead, which I think is a much more horrifying prospect when it comes to playing through FNAF 2. Springtrap makes every game a little more scary with just his presence, or more specifically, William Afton does. Yikes. I also imagine that fans of FNAF are likely only able to improve upon Springtrap's jump scare animation from FNAF 3 when building their own to be added into the games. Fans are just good at improving things even more because many in the community have the skills and the creativity to do so, and I feel like a lot of them have spare time to throw at this because they love it so much. FNAF fans, they can just be a talented bunch, so.
Halfway through to number 5, Ballora. Some believe Ballora to have been Chica's replacement in Sister location. Not lore-wise, but gameplay-wise, to cut down on the amount of sultry, paltry fan art that was circulating Reddit. But making this dummy-thick robo was only the beginning of the terror, because much like a real woman, all Ballora wants to do is break your heart, by opening her face while you're crawling in the darkness. I don't know what it is about Ballora specifically, but when she opens her face, it is the creepiest out of all the jump scares in that game. Perhaps it's because she has human-like features and proportions, so seeing what's basically a human move their, I guess, flesh from their face at will is really unsettling. But no matter the reason, Ballora has one of the most unsettling jump scares and levels in the game. Having to crawl through her auditorium while listening to see when she's close, but you're not seeing it, you're hearing it, and if you get it wrong, then she jump scares you. And then there's the fact that she crawls like a spider. Damn it, I hate it with a passion. And not the kind of passion you'd be expecting when it comes to dummy thick Ballora. And at 4, Nightmares. The Nightmare animatronics were an overcorrection by Scott because the community wasn't satisfied with the Springtrap jump scare. FNAF 3 was actually meant to be the final game, but since Springtrap was kinda trash, we got the horrific monstrosities that are the Nightmare animatronics. Surely the inspiration for the twisted ones, the Nightmare animatronics were some of the most horrific additions to the game world, even though they're not real, and in even an in-game sense. They actually are hallucinations caused by illusion sound discs that we learn about in the Twisted Ones novel, ironically, as confirmed by Nightmare Freddy and Ultimate Custom Night. But they still absolutely destroy my mind and make me clench my cheeks when they show up. Why are they here? Because we thought this isn't scary enough? Okay, I've learned my lesson now. Now, please, let me sleep for God's sakes. I see why you're scared of Bonnie Scott. I get it now. Please, let me sleep. Sky Daddy Scott. And at 3, VR. The VR animatronics are the normal animatronics that we know. Glitchtrap is the only real other character added by this game, and he doesn't get a jump scare, so what am I talking about specifically? It's plain and simple. Having the jump scares in your face on screen is one thing. Having them in your face in an environment that you can't really escape by looking away is much worse. The animatronics being in your face is some of the most horrific experiences that I've had with my Oculus headset, aside from playing The Forest in VR, but it's something else actually seeing these animatronics at such a scale and being so powerless to stop them. These things are huge if you keep yourself at the default height. They tower over you. I have to increase my size to something closer to mine for motion sickness reasons. It just kind of makes my head spin, but even when these things are still taller than me, it makes me want to defecate in my shorts and then run away. Not cool. They're still taller than me, even when I make my height normal. And ultimately, in at number 2, Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is probably the scariest jump scare from the first game, and probably from the second as well. The animatronic has no interior endoskeleton and is just confusing as to the lore, being able to move around at will, moving through doors and causing weird hallucinations like it's me and eyeless Bonnie. But what for? We still don't entirely know, and we have no confirmation as to whether any of our theories are right. It's pretty damn terrifying to think about. And not only that, but add the fact that they're the only animatronic in the game that causes a crash to desktop. It's like the jump scare deletes the coconut JPEG that was holding the game together. Why does it crash us? We still don't know, because honestly that's the first interaction between game and the real world, and then that becomes a thing later on in the series, and It has a whole load of implications. And you know that since I just realized this now, this is going to be in the next Tiny Details video, because we know that that's going to get another part, even though nobody in the comments actually decides to help me, usually. Finally, in at number 1, Nightmare. You all knew this was coming. Speaking of another crash desktop moment, Nightmare from FNAF 4. What is your deal? We know it's meant to represent death or William's wickedness coming for Crying Child, but why do Golden Freddy and Nightmare share this small detail? Why not Golden Freddy and Nightmare Fredbear, since that is the Golden Freddy in this game? Either way, this damn animatronic is the scariest one ever, hands down. This dude is death incarnate, and it's for a reason. Pitch black with a freaking bow tie and top hat. Look at those goddamn munchers too. Those teeth will tear me apart and make me cry for weeks before finally putting me out of my goddamn misery and crashing me to the desktop. The desktop of life. Seriously. I think we all knew that this was going to be number 1, and this has been said in like a million times by different people, different points in history. I don't know anymore. Nightmare is terrifying, and if you don't think that Nightmare is the scariest animatronic, who do you think deserved to be number 1? Like, and no, it's not Springtrap, don't even. His jump scare isn't scary. It literally caused another game to be made so that we could actually be scared. And then they continued the series. Which actually is probably the scariest thing of all.
Coming in at number 10, Chester the Chimp, Withered. Now, while staying true to his original appearance, Withered Chester is the older and broken down version. He lacks his right upper arm and left lower leg suit covering, revealing his endoskeleton underneath. Part of his face is completely removed, alongside his casting for his eyes and his left ear. And also his body seems to be pretty dirty. He also seems to be missing part of his eyes, or at least some of his eyes. He only got 2. You know what I'm saying? But believe me, this chimp is not the chimp we know and love with the symbols. You know, the one making the music? This weathered chimp can stay in the animatronic jungle. Thank you.
And at 9, Candy. Candy the cat is the central antagonist of Five Nights at Candy's and Five Nights at Candy's Remastered. I mean, I hope that would be obvious. He's an animatronic cat who, like the other animatronics, wanders around the restaurant in search of the night guard. He also has a twin sister named Cindy the cat. Sorry dude, I know what that's like. Not really, not like a twin, but like I know what it's like to have a sister. Candy is a blue animatronic with a red tie, rosy cheeks, and red eyes. Same. Candy has triangular ears and has triangular teeth on their upper jaw, and his appearance heavily resembles the toy animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. In later games, Candy appears to be the same as he was in the first game, but more cartoonish and like kind of smaller than his original version. He also has a 16-bit appearance to match him with more arcade-like characters, because you know, FNAF's all about the 8-bits and stuff, and it's a FNAF fan game, so I hope that makes sense.
Coming in at number 8, Monster Vinny. So in one of my reviews on the Nightmare channel, I talk about dolls, right? How many times do I need to talk about dolls? I freaking hate them too. Okay, this is the worst one because it's a puppet. Hello, like it's a puppet. Where are the strings for this dude? I mean, it looks like he is controlled, but by who? Okay, instead of sharing the same eyes as Nightmare's own and the new Vinny, the eye part of the mask is just wide open. Okay, the eyes appears to be held up by a metal frame from inside the mask. The jaw appears to be able to move like a dummy. The mouth contains, yet again, sharp teeth. You can shine the light on him. So how is a man supposed to find him? You don't. He finds you. Christ's sakes, man. Let alone he is the under the bed type of monster. The longer you play, see, this is why I don't like dolls and puppets. Okay? I like to put them under my bed. Stay there. Don't come out, please.
And it's 7, Withered Cat. Withered Cat, also just known as Cat for some reason, even though they're withered and not the normal cat, is a new animatronic and one of the 2 main antagonists of Five Nights at Candy's 2, the other being the rat. He is the withered incarnation of the cat, although, like I said, I don't know why they just call him the cat. He, along with the withered rat, appear in only nights 6 and 8. He also is similar to the withered rat because they're both withered. They both have the same dominant color and have fallen into disrepair. However, the cat also has hollowed eyes, with the right eye bearing stitches. Like the rat, he has a stitch running across his head and some of his joints, yet he doesn't have a metallic skin or layer showing. Unlike his monster counterpart though, he has no fanged teeth, luckily, because if he did, Jesus Christ, I would be crying. He also has exposed endoskeleton fingers along with his left hand and his lower left leg, with parts of his upper left leg being exposed. His body is damaged, as is his head.
Hashtag relatable. He also seems to be less damaged than the rat. Hashtag not relatable.
Coming in at number 6, the Withered Rat is somewhat similar to the Withered Cat. He only activates on the last few nights. Not much is known about him, but like I said, he only appears in night 5 and starts to go ballistic by night 6. He is possessed by an actor from the Rat and Cat Theater, or so we presume. The Rat and Cat seem to be the only animatronics that will brutally murder a teenager, at least in broad daylight. When I first saw this, I'm like, nah fam, thank God I ain't a teen anymore. But this may be because of the incident seen during FNAF 3 in their mini games. Like I said, FNAF 3, alright? So when the two actors died in the suits, and y'all should know that, excuse me, they ain't no Gundams though. They ain't no Gundam warriors trying to get out the suit. Get out that suit. You know, when you're done with it, wash the damn thing. The last thing you want is a moldy suit. I guess these withers can just give a rat's ass. I guess we gotta get the good cheese and go trap them.
Halfway through into number 5, Sinister Springtrap. Sinister Springtrap used to be an upcoming antagonist in Sinister Turmoil, a cancelled fan game. He looks like original Springtrap, being dirty colored with hanging wires from his head, and only two differences that our purple guy's corpse head is clearly visible this time, and because you know he's a Sinister, he has long sharp teeth going on. Currently he's not in the game, but he was planned on being in the full game and possibly in the demo. However, like I said, the game was in fact cancelled. And this guy is scary for the reason any of the other Sinister characters are scary. This time around, he just doesn't really have a jump scare, hence why I'm putting him at number 5, because like he doesn't really have an official one, like from Sinister Turmoil, but there are plenty of fan-made jump scares for this fan-made character from a fan game, which is a whole other level of meta that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to try thinking about that today. So since this is such a technicality, it gets the middle spot so everyone is happy, okay? Now since I put him at number 5, watch me wake up to Springtrap, to like Sinister Springtrap jump scaring me. It's like, you like this? You're looking for these? Ah! It's late in the day if you can't tell. In at 4, AR Springtrap. In FNAF Special Delivery, Springtrap will haywire frequently. This can lead to a haywire chain where Springtrap will haywire up to like 5 times back to back. But to avoid a jump scare, the player must stare at him when his eyes are white and then look away when they turn red. Springtrap will taunt the player throughout his attack as well, occasionally fake charging. When Springtrap materializes during his charge, the player must quickly shock him or they will be jump scared. It is also possible to obtain a Springtrap plush suit, which can be placed on an endoskeleton, and said endoskeleton can then be salvaged for parts, or sent to attack other players with Springtrap's appearance. Yeah, that's messed up. The Springtrap animatronic in this game is creepier than the original counterpart since it's just a recreation. However, the fact that it's a recreation of the killer and right in your face on your phone makes it deserving of the number 4 spot in my opinion. I still don't know why Fazbear Entertainment thinks that it's a good idea for this. Like why? I feel like everyone knows that Springtrap's the bad guy, but they're like, oh yeah, here's one for your home. You get a Springtrap, you get a Springtrap, everyone gets a homicidal maniac! Getting close to the end in number 3, Ignited Springtrap. Ignited Springtrap is the main and only antagonist to the Joy of Creation Halloween edition. Ignited Springtrap is a more decayed and damaged version of Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He doesn't have the suit's lower jaw, revealing William Afton's lower jaw. His eyes closely resemble the Phantom animatronics from FNAF 3, with the exception of them being orange-ish instead of white, and he seems to have a darker green costume, possibly due to the last sighting. He also looks fairly similar to Burntrap, so much so that I mistaked his jump scare that I saw separately from the Ignited Springtrap name for a Burntrap character in a fan game, so it was going to be on the list twice. He looks so close to Burntrap, it's actually kinda insane. His upper right arm, left forearm, and right shin lack their suit casing, and there is a massive rip in his chest, exposing Afton's innards instead of Enards. Get it? His ears aren't damaged any further than they were in FNAF 3, but most of his body is exposed with little pieces of the suit being visible. And during his jump scare in this game, he actually like kicks you into a fire and then he pins you to the ground and then just kills you unless like you try to push him up and then you like move his suit. Just watch the clip. Penultimately, in at number 2, Reaper Springtrap. Reaper Spring Vany is one of the Reaper antagonists in Final Nights 3 Nightmares Awoken. He is referred to by the Fredbear plush as my friend, possibly because the original Fredbear entertained alongside Spring Vany, so they're friends that way, not like cohorting, I think, hopefully. But like the others in Final Nights 3, he's a Reaper animatronic. Reaper Spring Vany returns in the 4th and final game in the series, Final Nights 4 Fates Entwined as well, where he just looks absolutely terrifying. In Final Nights 4, Reaper Spring Vany, referred to in the museum as just Reaper Vany, appears in Investigation 4. He, along with Reaper Balloon Boy, Reaper Puppet, Reaper Mangle, and Reaper Golden Freddy, attack Max Donovan in the hospital bedroom. His behavior is the same as in Final Nights 3. The player will hear him moan like some weird person in my DMs, and they will have to run up to the door and use the flashlight to scare him away. He also looks way more terrifying in Final Nights 4 than he did in 3. Not only does he have one jump scare as well, he also has two. One at the door and one for if he gets into the room. Both are horrifying, but the door scare just seems more expected to me because like you would see him walking into the room, therefore more terrifying than if he actually gets into the room. However, if I was really strapped, I could have used both jump scares for numbers, just saying. And finally, in at number 1, Nightmare Springtrap. A mod for FNAF 4, Nightmare Springtrap is a nightmare animatronic that bears a resemblance to Nightmare Fredbear or Nightmare Freddy, as he's known throughout the community. I mean, like Nightmare Fredbear, Nightmare Freddy, they're two different things in my opinion. Nightmare Springtrap, though, only appears on night 8, the challenge night. And upon completion of the night, the player will unlock a 4th star and plush versions of Chica, Bonnie, Spring Bonnie, and Fredbear for the player's bedroom. Many of the plushes will be scattered around the room in different places, such as on the floor and along the top of dressers and stuff, but the player is able to see Nightmare Springtrap once before it enters the room. If you do see it, that counter resets, giving the player one more chance to complete the night. Once Nightmare Springtrap is activated by this, the other animatronics, including Fredbear, will then be deactivated for the rest of the challenge night, leaving the player to only try and outwit Nightmare Springtrap alone. Nightmare Springtrap very rarely enters the closet or appears on the player's bed, but the player will be able to detect his movements based on the moaning sounds he makes. I don't know why everyone makes Springtrap moan. It's kinda creepy and a big red flag if you ask me. In at 10, FNAF 3 Springtrap. It's pretty universally known that FNAF 3 is one of the easier FNAF games. With only one animatronic that can actually kill you, you can juggle him between a couple rooms for basically the whole night. You're able to survive fairly easily. But while some consider this game scary, overall it's one of the least scary of all, and that's thanks to Springtrap. Springtrap's jump scare in this game is actually the worst jump scare in the series, having the only real scare factor being the sound that plays along with it. But as for the actual model, he just kinda moves towards you a little bit, and that's it. There was also apparently an interview where Scott said that he was going to end the series after game 3, but the community's disappointment with the Springtrap jump scare caused him to make the 4th game with the Nightmare animatronics. I'm unable to find that interview, but that also makes sense to me. Like, the Nightmare animatronics were sort of overcorrecting for the lack of scares in FNAF 3, since you could also easily predict the phantom jump scares. So, I can see it. And at 9, Sister Location. While William wasn't really in Sister Location as one of the enemies, because you know, all those fused into Enard, he was still in it during the final cutscene, where Michael is giving his final speech, saying, "Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all here. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now, but something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in the shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you." After that final line, Springtrap jumps out from behind the ruins of Fazbear's Fright, which burnt down at the end of FNAF 3. This is less of a jump scare, more of a way to show that Springtrap and by proxy William are still alive. However, it's still scarier than the normal Springtrap jump scare if you weren't ready for it or knew that it was coming. So. And at 8, Scrap Trap. See, this one is a bit of a weird one because, well, like, you can decide if it's possible or not. Since you don't really have to salvage an animatronic, you can just leave it for scrap and not keep it inside the building, thus allowing yourself not to have to stress over a psychotic killer rabbit, which is my personal recommendation. However, if you make the fool's decision and trap Scrap Trap, you have the possibility of being jump scared, which usually would only happen when you're not focused on protecting yourself. So, mostly when you're worried about your pizzeria or completing completing the tasks you need to do in order to leave and to complete the day. But this one is more unexpected, and Scraptrap is certainly freakier than Springtrap is. And this jump scare is actually more like a jump scare than the Springtrap one, so needless to say, it deserves to be higher. Well, higher than those. However, there are scarier jump scares despite this. And at 7, VR Springtrap. FNAF VR may be one of the more recent games in the series, but it certainly is one of the freakiest. VR horror is such an experience, okay? But combine that with the story of Five Nights at Freddy's and you get one hell of a game. And while Springtrap's jump scare in normal FNAF 3 may not be scary, having to deal with this guy up close and personal and literally towering above you will have you changing your attitude and your pants on a regular basis. Since this time, when jump scaring you, he pops up from the bottom of your screen and just shaking his face at you as much as humanly possible before he actually causes you to lose the game. Speaking of which, I lost the game. I personally believe that all the jump scares are scarier in FNAF VR, not to mention how everything is scarier when it's towering over you, because in that case it appears to have more power and be more powerful, and let's be honest, Springtrap's design kinda needs that to be scary. I don't know, I don't think that the actual character is scary, but his story is certainly scary, but not really him. It's confusing. And at 6, Glamrock Freddy. During Security Breach's final boss fight, Freddy is hacked by Burntrap and will stand in the center of the room as a hazard. If Burntrap ends up successfully hacking him, he will kill Gregory, either by chasing him down or by pulling Gregory out of his stomach if the player had entered beforehand. Gregory can still lure Freddy away by calling him over to different spots though. And since his eyes turn purple after William possesses him or hacks him or whatever, okay, possessed Glamrock Freddy is a version of Afton, so it's good enough for me. This is mostly scary because from what I've seen, people are often confused as to why Freddy is suddenly running at them. They don't know enough about the series to hide from anything purple. So they get jump scared, flip out, and then realize that Afton got to him. So yeah, the fact that we can trust Freddy this whole game is kind of what makes this jump scare so brutal, but it's still not the worst one out there. Halfway through into number 5, Shadow Rat. Shadow Rat is the final antagonist of Five Nights at Candy's 3. He is a purple shadow version of Monster Rat. He appears in the Deepscape and in the Shadow Challenge. Shadow Rat's appearance is similar to that of the rat from FNAF 2. He has hollow eyes and jagged teeth, much like the rat from FNAF 2, and Shadow Rat's forehead is also stitched together. The sprite of Shadow Rat also looks more similar to that of Monster Rat, seeing as how they're basically the same thing except one's purple, and you can't really see his eyes when he turns around. Shadow Rat also has another form only seen in the Shadow Challenge. The Shadow Challenge only includes the Shadow Rat, which is again a purple shadowy form of the original Monster Rat that has no pupils and is much more menacing than the Monster Rat, with a pose more elegant, as the wiki put it, and pronounced than the Monster Rats, which is kind of like hunched over and stuff, but no. This one's loud and proud and ready to just tear you to bits, and not in the fun way.
Coming in at number 4, Blank, the animatronic. Okay, now this one is just wrong, alright? It physically scared the shit out of me, alright? When I watch these videos, I'm like, come on, man. It's bad enough we have animatronic demons gunning for our heads, but now you got a blank face looking Slender Man type of robot, or should I say an animatronic, wanting your soul? I do not know what is worse. The fact that little children used him as a coloring book? Not only that, no one wants to fix this poor bot. They all need some type of maintenance. Come on, a little lube, grease, it ain't gonna hurt nobody. I can't speak for Blank. He may just leave you alone if you restored him like the Pimp My Animatronics show. See, now with Freddy being your main host, that might be a good show. Who am I to speak though? He is a loner, and God forbid, if you see what he is drawing, good luck for you.
Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Shadow Cat. Shadow Cat is the shadowy form of the monster cat, the quaternary antagonist of Five Nights at Candy's 3. It first appears in the pre-night cutscene of Night 3 and is only seen through its jump scare when the player stands in the darkness for too long. Shadow Cat does not appear in the Shadow Challenge. Shadow Cat, much like Shadow Rat, shares most of its features from the cat from FNAF 2 with a stitched forehead and hollow eye sockets, just like my soul. The Shadow Cat also shares his appearance with the Monster Cat from FNAF 3, mainly with the sharpened teeth and fangs, which weren't present in the original cat from FNAF 2. God, I hope not. Shadow Cat can only be found in the Dreamscape simulations on nights 3, 4, and 5, and Shadow Cat's only visual depiction is its jump scare, a 2D screen accompanied by a roar shared with the Shadow Rat. Why are these things so goddamn similar? Okay? Be original. It's your goddamn game. Think of something new. Love you though.
Coming in at number 2, the Penguin. Yeah, the Penguin. He's a glitching animatronic unlike the other ones. He doesn't kill you though. He forces you to restart your camera monitor instead. You know how important your camera monitor is. Leaving you open to several different attacks for several seconds. Bro, this ain't even the cream on the top. You see him on the security camera, then he disappears. Next thing you know, you see his little beady eyes in your room, and boom! A quick snap and he's in front of you. The sense of horror of him just popping out and then sabotaging your base of operations kind of sounds like someone we know. Homie Brian, huh? Yeah, all jokes aside though, this ain't the penguins from Madagascar, I tell ya. He's mean, man, like a ice cold, bad, just bad.
And he's dirt nasty.
Dirt nasty.
And finally, in at number 1, Lollipop. Dude, what the actual living flying hell is this thing? Goddamn. Lollipop appears in FNAF 3 in the thank you image behind New Candy and Withered New Cindy. He is required to get the ultimate ending, and Lollipop is an anthropomorphic peppermint. The animatronic being mostly just a head with a body attached to it, obviously. I mean, like, I don't know why they felt the need to include that on the wiki. He wears a steel blue job outfit along with a sailor's cap. And to find Lollipop, the player must talk to all of the toys, and when they say, if you have something to say, say it now, type where is she? All caps, no spaces. Then they will explain how to find Lollipop. Again, I don't know why the wiki couldn't just tell you where to find Lollipop. And then you gotta play one of his games and collect the piece of the 4th star. But seriously, Lollipop's jump scare? Even like just the image for it is absolutely terrifying. What the hell? Like I thought that Shadow Cat or Blank was bad. No, what the ever-loving is this thing? Or as Jay put it, no one wants to lick this thing. That's relatable.
And at 10, Vany. We know FNAF 1 to be the catalyst of all my mental torment. I mean, of the Five Nights at Freddy series. Without this game, obviously, we wouldn't have gotten the others. But with that being said, there are still some damn good jump scares in this game. For example, Bonnie's FNAF 1 jump scare. That even resulted in Scott himself being terrified and having nightmares, making Bonnie in his mind the scariest animatronic. Which is probably why in Ultimate Custom Night, Bonnie didn't get a proper jump scare, only from Pirate's Cove. At least to my knowledge, I'm already bad enough at FNAF games, I don't need to play Ultimate Custom Night. Like, it won't end well, and I'll never actually beat it. But it also explains why in Sinister Location, after the horror that is Nightmare Bonnie, we got a puppet version. And why in Security Breach we only get a cameo in the form of a bowling arena, at least as far as we know currently as this is being filmed. And at 9, Foxy. Foxy doesn't have the best track record for jump scares. His FNAF 1 jump scare isn't scary, and he was on the worst jump scare list multiple times in part 2. However, Scott seems to have brought this back with FNAF Ultimate Custom Night, since Foxy actually gets really up in your face and just makes you shudder. I think that Foxy has the most versatile design, and Grim Foxy is one of my personal favorite animatronics. So I think that this is a good thing, because I want Foxy to be scarier. I don't want to experience the scare, because being scared is supposed to be a bad thing, but I respect those who enjoy the feeling, and I think that Foxy should be able to give them that feeling. And this jump scare does it. It's all about the setup, you know. And at 8, Enard. I've said previously that the Enard jump scare during his vent repair isn't scary, but by that I meant the scripted jump scare that occurs after you've completed the level. I also said that in the video, since you expect that jump scare after the first time, or if you watch literally anyone play it. With that being said, however, nothing can compare to the utter terror that you feel when you're trapped in an elevator having to focus on completing a puzzle while Enard is watching you, waiting for a chance to make his move, and then teleporting around you at random. And then when he gets you, you just get scared shitless because you were just shaking in your boots for ages while you had to figure out how to get that last gear, and then boom. It's horrible, it's not okay. It's one of the reasons I don't play the Enard vent repair. Actually, the main reason is like the button presses at the beginning, like, you know, that puzzle where you have to follow the wire. I'm probably horrible at those, especially under pressure, but like I don't want to confirm it. And at 7, Nightmare On. I've said in lists previous that the puppet's jump scare isn't scary, because you can expect it. If you even look at the proper camera, you'll be okay. However, Nightmare On from FNAF 4, the nightmare version of the puppet, is a different story. It's a fearful reflection of what William Afton created. And you know what? That's horrific. This damn thing makes me understand people who fear dolls. Like, pediophobia makes sense to me now. Because if this is what puppets look like to you, I apologize for any jokes I've made about it before. Wait, hold on, sorry, that wasn't a proper YouTuber apology. Nah, I gotta work on that. I gotta have some more fake tears, right? And I have to say that I'm appalled by the person that I used to be. Joking aside, Nightmare On is actually a terrifying animatronic and has a terrifying jump scare, especially when you're in the night terror level in FNAF VR. Like, it's messed up. Why? Why did you have to add the tentacles? Why do I have to deal with tentacles? It just reminds me of the Reaper puppet. And if you know, you know. And at 6, Foxy. Like I said earlier, Foxy never really had the best rep with jump scares. I mean, his FNAF 1 jump scare was so mild that people thought he was trying to help you and killed you by accident, surprising you so much that you had a heart attack. But this man jumped at the opportunity to give the player a better jump scare in FNAF 2. This man will jump at you from the end of the hallway and absolutely make you destroy your shorts. And I respect that. That is an admirable use of your time. More useful than leaving hate comments on a YouTube video, that's for sure. And yeah, that's right, I'm looking at you. Yeah? You don't think that I noticed when you make a throwaway account because you know I'm on to you? Yeah, that's right, Mom. I'll send Foxy after you too.
Number 5, a blacklight vent repair Springtrap. So while Connor did already talk about Springtrap's jump scare being even more terrifying in the Help Wanted FNAF 3 versus the original and actual FNAF 3, and I gotta say, I agree, all jump scares are more terrifying in VR. Here, we're actually going to be focusing specifically on Springtrap's jump scare in the vent repair. Oh, so spook! Springtrap is a character you will have to face in the blacklight version of vent repair along with Enard. And yeah, Springtrap isn't the main character here, but Springtrap is around. Here you have to race against the clock as Springtrap crawls towards you as you try to complete your panel. Something even just about Springtrap's presence here terrifies me. Also, blacklight. Blacklight is just scary in general. I think it's the William Afton Springtrap vent combo though that really seals the deal for me on this one. Number 4, Hidden Springtrap. While I know we've discussed how the original appearance of Springtrap's jump scares in FNAF 3 were considered pretty lackluster by fans, I still think they're terrifying because they generally happen to you in a moment when tensions are running quite high, and you're already feeling super anxious. I just feel like FNAF 3 is a very anxiety-inducing game in general. Case in point, when the Phantom puppet shows up, it doesn't jump scare you like the other Phantom animatronics in the game, but instead obstructs your view, so you're trying to look around, can't see anything. You also can't pull up your monitor or use the maintenance panel during this time. This means it's especially hard for you to keep track of, what Springtrap might be up to and where exactly he is. Unable to distract him away from your location, the puppet jump scare can easily and often lead to a hidden Springtrap jump scare, where as soon as the Phantom puppet is gone, Springtrap surprises you by popping up, which I think is even more scary than the standard Springtrap jump scare from this game. And there's nothing you can really do about this one once it starts to happen, which just makes it more terrifying in my opinion, because your view is obstructed, so you can't even use anything to be trying to get Springtrap to go away. Number 3, Nightmare Springtrap. While Nightmare Springtrap in the actual FNAF games is a rare one to run into, in the FNAF fan-made game Ultra Custom Night, he's part of the regular cast of characters. Here Springtrap has a nightmarish appearance, still super decayed, but with rows and rows of sharp teeth, claw-like sharp hands, and red glowing eyes. He can kill you in Ultra Custom Night if you go too close to the vent where his hand has appeared. In order to get rid of him and avoid a jump scare, you have to switch back and forth between heat and AC unit multiple times. Number 2, Loading Screen of Horror. Okay, so yes, admittedly a loading screen is not necessarily a jump scare, but loading screens can be jump scare worthy, I think. And come on friends, this is a part 3, so obviously we're getting to the point where unless it's, all fan games on this list, I gotta talk about things like horrifying loading screens, okay? Still, I'd argue that this actually does deserve its spot on our list, especially considering the sound that accompanies it. We're talking about the the hidden loading screens featured in FNAF 3 that also come with that somewhat familiar, horrifying sound. Some have likened it to an 8-bit inspired version of Afton's screams of pain. I mostly liken it to just sounds of pain for my ears. It's not a pleasant sound, but obviously that's the point. The images aren't pleasant either and reveal Springtrap seemingly pulling back the top of the animatronic suit's head to reveal the decaying corpse of William underneath. Ugh. Number 1. Sneaky glitchtrap. It's not a traditional jump scare either, but as I said, this is a part 3, so please bear with me here. Please just forgive me for this. Also, glitchtrap is so scary, I had to talk about it. One thing I will say though, is this is definitely William Afton at his most scary. For me, at least. It's more of like a lurk than a jump right out at you, so it's not as direct. It's not a direct jump scare. But still, it's super scary. This one comes from Help Wanted when Glitchtrap basically shows up to stalk you in the background. Each time he reappears, he also seems to be materializing more and more and getting eerily closer to you. For me, this kind of slow burn of a creepy and inevitable approach is more horrifying actually. But how about for you? Do you prefer a traditional jump right out with loud noises jump scare, or a scare that is more about something that lurks in the background, just on the edge of your field of vision, and every time you look its way, it seems to become more solid, more real, and more of a potentially deadly threat? Also, if we're talking about glitchtrap and jump scares, I think we gotta talk about those transfer attempts, right? Oh, those are just scary in general. Especially if you get like stuck. I've seen people get stuck where they have just a bunch of them in a row. Oh my gosh, Glitchtrap's trying to take over your mind.
In a 10, Plush Trap. Technically, in a sense, Plush Trap is just a small version of Springtrap, right? I mean, like if you think about it, if you shrunk Springtrap down and made him like Scrappy-Doo proportions, you'd have Plush Trap. So the Plush Trap jump scare from the Fun with Plush Trap minigame counts as William Afton, at least enough to be number 10. I mean, a kid in FNAF 4 even says, "Where's your plush toy? Mine is Spring Bonnie. My daddy says I need to be careful with him or will pinch my finger. He's a finger trap," he says. So that's good enough for me. He is a nightmarish variant of the Spring Bonnie plush toy, who first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 as the main antagonist of his own minigame Fun with Plush Trap. Plush Trap is a smaller plush version of Spring Bonnie. He is similar in design to Springtrap, albeit much more cartoonish and less damaged, and he also seems to be less menacing in appearance than most other nightmare animatronics, but that doesn't stop his jump scare from still getting you, okay? Because even enough to cause Eddie VR to flip out multiple times. That was funny though. In at 9, PowerPoint Springtrap. This game, called FNAF 3 PowerPoint Edition, is a game that from the description was made in PowerPoint. This FNAF game was made in PowerPoint. How the ever-loving hell does that work? Like, how do you make a FNAF game in PowerPoint? Imagine that's how Scott released the first game, just like a frickin' PowerPoint file. That would have been insane. This is very simply a click a couple of times and then get jump scared kind of thing. At least this jump scare is scarier than the original FNAF 3 jump scare. This is wrong, and it feels incorrect. It feels like a sin on so many levels to play it or even have it downloaded, okay? I thought that the whole PowerPoint thing was a joke, but no, it's literally a PowerPoint file that you click through. So this jump scare is scary because it's bad. And the only reason it's not number 10 is because of Plush Trap. This is just wrong. Like, why would you do this? The jump scare is also unavoidable, actually. You can't win this version. And apparently, from what I was looking at, these PowerPoints are a series of games. In at 8, Ultimate Custom Night Scrap Trap. Scrap Trap, formerly known as William Afton, is a bipedal green-colored animatronic with his human corpse trapped inside, although it's not actually a corpse, although the wiki calls it a corpse. The wikis need to be updated. William wasn't dead at this point, okay? The suit's head is heavily damaged and reveals a yellowish color underneath, which may be part of his skin, maybe the suit. We aren't entirely sure, although it might also be just bone. There are also gray and red wires that connect his skin to his suit. He has gray robotic eyes and 2 teeth resembling a cartoon rabbit, with smaller, sharper teeth lining his bottom jaw. His right arm lacks a hand, resembling a broken bone, and there are multiple bone-like claws on his left hand. In Ultimate Custom Night, Afton only appears once per night, and there is a chance that he won't appear at all. When he does appear, however, the office lights will flicker and a loud clamoring noise will come from the right vent before attacking. The player must quickly close the right vent door to block him, and he will not appear for the rest of the night if you do it correctly. But if you don't, Scrap FNAF Jump Scare is one of the few animated ones in this game, making it scarier than someone like Nightmare Balloon Boy, who only has an image that moves around. You really cheaped out on the jump scares in this game, Scott, just saying. And it's 7 Clown Springtrap. Clown Springtrap is Springtrap's third skin, and the third skin overall to be introduced into the Dark Circus event of FNAF AR. Clown Springtrap has a pale white suit with blue and purple makeup above his eyes. He also has messy purple hair coming out of his head, obviously, and large red lipstick as well because he's a clown. Clown Springtrap's body is mostly covered by a large suit with ripped up black pants and a black shirt, along with a red and purple vest. He features large red clown shoes along with a large red bow tie and flowers on his chest. His right eyelid has also been stitched up for some reason. Finally, he carries around a very large red mallet in his left hand, a la Harley Quinn. And considering how clowns are one of the most common fears, with more people in the United States being scared of clowns than global warming, I think putting Clown Springtrap on this list where he is intentionally jump scaring you in your own home is definitely understandable. And it's 6 Insane Spring Bonnie. Insane Spring Bonnie is a nightmarish depiction of Spring Bonnie from the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Well, not Insane Spring Bonnie isn't from the FNAF series, but Spring Bonnie is, and it's based off Spring Bonnie. That's what I meant. Insane Spring Bonnie bears a huge resemblance to the Springtrap from FNAF 3. He is a greenish yellow with many rips and tears, and Insane Spring Bonnie, similar to the other animatronics, has 2 rows of sharp teeth and steel claws. The front of his chest is torn open, exposing the endoskeleton within him alongside his legs. He is also missing half of his right ear. Insane Spring Bonnie starts moving around at night 3. Insane Spring Bonnie looks strongly like Springtrap from FNAF 3, so that makes sense since Springtrap is like the Spring Bonnie suit. But Insane Spring Bonnie was not planned by the developers of the fan game it's a part of until later in development. This is all coming from what I read on the URL, the FNAF fan game wiki, and it didn't actually list the game that the Insane Spring Bonnie was a part of, which is kind of an oversight on their part. But I mean, like, if you know, let me know in the comments. This thing looks horrifying though. Insane Bonnie comes from Final Nights 4, but I don't know if Insane Spring Bonnie is something else or not. I think it's from a game called Insanity, but I also could be wrong. Let me know. If you know, let me know. Halfway through in at number 5, Vany. Vany is a follower of the digital virus glitchtrap, a form of the serial killer William Afton, and appears as the main antagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. It's revealed in the Princess Quest minigames that she was also the main protagonist of FNAF Help Wanted, where she was first corrupted by the sentient code being thing. So technically, since Vany is the part of Vanessa that is controlled by William, this makes her jump scare a William Afton jump scare. Vany is shown to have a sadistic personality hidden behind a childlike flamboyance. This is shown through her casually and gleefully skipping after Gregory as he runs from her before running with arms outstretched if she gets too close. She also happily orders the staff bots to disassemble Glamrock Freddy in the phaser blast ending, and constantly laughs as she's going to kill Gregory. If she ever does catch Gregory though, which can happen unexpectedly at times, especially at certain points throughout the story, it can give you quite the fright. It's better than her trailer jump scare, since in that first trailer we couldn't really see anything, but not the scariest thing in the world. Mostly because you can see it coming for the most part, but there are a good few moments with her. Like when timers run out and stuff and she jump scares you. Those are good. But like the CRT effect kind of lets you know when she's coming. In at 4, Desk Scrap Trap. Salvaging is a major method first used in FNAF Pizzeria Simulator. It is an optional section that occurs on each of the 4 nights starting on Monday after the management phase. As Henry says during each salvage, each animatronic was found in the back alley. After he explains what options are open to the player, they can either proceed with the salvage or throw it back into the alley. If the player decides to salvage the animatronic, the salvaging section begins immediately. This process is simple. Henry will play 1 out of 5 audio prompts through the tape, and the player must check on the responses on the form itself based on whether or not the animatronic actually responded to the stimuli, when in reality they're just reacting to you not looking at them. This sequence, should you look away for too long or at the wrong time, will result in a jump scare, but the desk jump scares in my personal opinion are pretty damn freaky, especially Scrap Traps, because like this clearly isn't his first rodeo, but like just man, I don't know what it is about someone coming over a desk to kill me. I just don't like it. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, The Curse. The Curse is an Aztec-themed skin for the Springtrap animatronic and was released on March 5th in the Ancient Equinox event and is the 4th skin for Springtrap in FNAF AR. The Curse is a teal-colored Springtrap dressed to look like an ancient Aztec warrior, and he has a large feathered crown and a golden chest piece. His hands are colored orange with sharp black claws, and one of them holds like a large golden shield. Finally, he is also decorated on the head with 2 large feathers, which is kind of weird, but I dig it. This guy looks like he's actually decaying as well, which is certainly a better spin on things since decaying bodies aren't purple, even though the series seems to try and push that idea. Bruises are purple, okay? Decay is more commonly depicted as green, or at least in other media. In real life it's not. Much how like Springtrap's suit in his curse form is dark green. This also could be a subtle reference to the fact that Afton is a curse on these games, being unable to ever get rid of him in any meaningful way, or maybe it's just about Glitchtrap and the Curse of Dreadbo DLC. Who knows? I do. I know. He is a curse on this series and my life and needs to die permanently, okay? Not to mention that just in general, Springtrap looks creepier in FNAF AR than FNAF 3 or FNAF VR, okay? Check out the wiki and then look at his pictures, okay? The FNAF VR and then FNAF AR. FNAF AR is horrifying. Penultimately, in at number 2, Flaming Springtrap. Flaming Springtrap was added during the Sizzling Summer event for FNAF AR and was understandably the final skin to be added in that update. Being Springtrap's second skin behind Toxic Springtrap, we weren't quite sure what to expect. But have you ever wondered what Springtrap looked like during the fire in FNAF 3? Or wondered what it was like in my old apartment? This is what it would feel like. This also answers the original question because he is definitely the kind of person to absorb all the flames and then use them to his advantage. Flaming Springtrap is a coal-colored Springtrap with dark orange highlights, and he is glowing orange from his endoskeleton since it's so hot, because he's flaming. He has flames spouting out of every open area possible, and you know what, honestly, who is ready for the 1000 degree endoskeleton challenge? Cause I am. His hands and feet are on fire the most, and for some reason he has no upper teeth. This is horrifying, okay? Especially if these are supposed to be real animatronics that Fazbear Entertainment is sending to people's homes. And my building thinks that my power block or power bar is a fire hazard. It's so befuddling to me how these are actually supposed to be real animatronics, okay? That's horrific. And the skins are canon, as we see in Fury's Rage, which is surely just one of the Security Breach arcade games. And finally, in at number 1, Garvey. A psychopathic, cold-blooded killer, he stopped being human long ago. That's how Garvey is described in the extras of Dormitabis, the FNAF fan game from which he hails. Garvey is the penultimate antagonist to Dormitabis. He later went on to get trapped in Spring Vany, becoming Springtrap, and then he was burned to a permanent death in the Fazbear Fright's fire. Garvey is a more gory version of Springtrap from FNAF 3. However, it is not William Afton, as this game was released before the name was revealed, and even before FNAF 4. Springtrap, but with hardly any exosuit or animatronic casing, whatever you want to call it, and this is him, okay? He crawls on all fours and uses his left hand as a foot and his left foot as a hand, like some demon monkey from hell that Satan didn't sanction the creation of. Just look at this thing and tell me that it shouldn't be on this list, okay? If you do, you'll be lying. I don't care if it's a fan game. This is the scariest version of William Afton we have ever gotten.